How many times can a woman stay invisible inside a place before she starts believing she really is invisible herself? That was the question turning in the head, without a name, without a fixed day for it, of that 55-year-old woman sitting on a blue plastic chair at the back of the Chase Bank branch on 43rd and King Drive, in the heart of Bronzeville, Chicago, on a chilly Wednesday afternoon in late fall. She had been there almost an hour. She had pulled ticket number 82 the moment she walked in. She had watched ticket 69 get called as she sat down. She had watched 74, then 77, then 79. But more than the tickets changing on the screen, she had watched, without trying to, 3 times in a row, the branch manager walk across the lobby, going one way and then the other, passing less than 3 feet from her chair, without ever, not one single time, turning her face to look at her. The first time, the manager walked by in a rush, with a cream-colored portfolio under her arm. The second time, she was coming back, slow, looking at her phone. The third time, she stopped a minute outside the conference room to greet a man in a dark suit, stood there for 3 minutes, talking about the weather, laughed twice, then went back to the offices in the rear. In none of those 3 times did the 55-year-old woman sitting right there in her path with a manila envelope in her hand get a half-second glance. And it was on that third pass that something happened that changed everything. The automatic glass door slid open and in came a younger woman, maybe 40, grey wool coat tailored at the waist, leather purse, low-heel boots. Before this woman had even reached the ticket counter, the manager, who was standing in the middle of the lobby, gave that wide wave from across the room, smiled the widest smile she had given all morning, and walked quick over to her. "Good afternoon, Mrs. Bradshaw. Come on back with me. You don't need a ticket. I'll take care of you right now." Mrs. Bradshaw didn't go anywhere near the blue plastic chair. She was led by the elbow, walked across the lobby, disappeared behind the door of the wealth management office. The 55-year-old woman looked at the manila envelope in her hand, looked at the ticket screen. 80. She still had 2 more before her number came up, looked at the blue plastic chair she had been sitting in for almost an hour, and she did, without meaning to, a calculation in her head she had never done before. How many times she had walked into this same branch, the same Chase Bank, here at 43rd and King Drive, over the past 33 years, and in how many of those times somebody had said her name out loud. The answer was none. In 33 years, not once. Not because she was actually invisible. It was because the bank had decided, without ever needing to ask anybody, that this blue chair was the place where women like her sat to wait. Her name was Gloria. Gloria May Robinson, 55 years old, retired CTA bus driver after 30 years driving the 4 Cottage Grove route up and down King Drive, 6 days a week, through summer heat and winter ice. She lived in Bronzeville, on a quiet block of 46th Street, in a 1-bedroom rented apartment on the 2nd floor of a 3-flat. Old hardwood floors that creaked, radiators that knocked when the heat came on, kitchen with 1 window that looked out on the brick wall of the building next door. She lived off her CTA pension, which came to a little over $1,500 a month, and from a small thing here and there, watching the kids of a young mama down the street 3 afternoons a week, while the mama worked her shift at the hospital. The apartment wasn't hers. It never had been. That was the whole story. When she had moved in with her boyfriend Curtis, at 24, they had promised each other that one day they would buy a little place of their own, somewhere in Bronzeville, or maybe over by Hyde Park. Didn't matter where. When Curtis had left, 14 years ago, not by death but by walking out one Sunday night and saying he had met somebody else at his job, Gloria had been alone, no children between them, no marriage either. Just the apartment and the memory of a man she had loved for 12 years. 3 months after Curtis left, her father Marvin, Also, a CTA bus driver before her had a heart attack while he was sitting in his recliner watching the Bulls game. He survived it, but he was never quite the same. He lived another 3 years in a nursing home up on the north side before he passed, on a Sunday morning in February. Marvin had left Gloria 2 things. The 4 flat on 48th Street he had managed to put a down payment on back in 1984, which had to be sold to cover his nursing home bills, and an old CTA brass token on a worn leather lanyard. That token was from the late 1980s, back when CTA buses and trains still took brass tokens instead of plastic cards. Marvin had carried it on a leather lanyard around his neck for 30 years of driving the 4 Cottage Grove route, the same route Gloria had ended up driving herself after she got hired. On the day Gloria graduated from CTA driver training, at 24 years old, Marvin had taken the lanyard off his own neck, slipped it over hers, and said one thing: "Take care of this baby." It's how I knew where I belonged for 30 years. Maybe it'll help you remember where you belong too. Gloria had kept that token for 30 years. It lived in a small wooden cigar box on top of her dresser, the leather lanyard now darkened almost to black from the years. Every August, on the anniversary of her daddy's death, Gloria took the lanyard out of the box, hung it around her neck for a single day, and slept with it under her pillow that one night. The rest of the time, the token stayed in the box. When it came to money, Gloria had done what she had been told. She had been saving every month since she got her first paycheck from CTA. First on a basic savings account at Southside Federal Credit Union, then later at the Chase branch on 43rd Street when her credit union was bought out. She put $30 in when she could. She put $50 when there was a little more. She put $200 at tax refund time. 33 years like that, never missing a month, never pulling anything out for anything except real emergencies. And the balance, after 33 years of steady deposits, was $16,400. It was a little. She knew it was a little, but it was hers. It was she who knew. If you're here today, listening to this story, it's because you know a woman like Gloria too. Or maybe that woman is you. This space was made for the woman who learned to walk into places with her head down, who never got called by her name when she stepped through a door, who never heard somebody ask how she was doing. If you haven't tapped that subscribe button yet, stay with me a little longer. This woman still has plenty to say. When ticket number 82 finally blinked on the screen, Gloria got up from the blue plastic chair. Her legs had stiffened up a little after an hour sitting. She walked over to the teller window. She handled what she had come in to handle. She was just there to deposit a personal check. The matter of 15 minutes. She walked out of the bank without saying anything else but thank you to the teller. It was already 5:30 in the afternoon. The Chicago wind had picked up off the lake and was running down King Drive, cold enough to cut through her thin jacket. Gloria walked 1 block to the bus stop, waited for the 4 Cottage Grove going south, watched it pull up driven by a young driver she didn't recognize. She got on, sat down in the 3rd row, and as the bus pulled away from the curb, she felt for the first time something inside her that didn't have a name yet. It wasn't anger. It wasn't exactly sadness. It was a very specific kind of thing you feel when you suddenly understand you have been seen a certain way that you didn't even know was a way. Gloria reached into her purse, felt for the small wooden cigar box she had brought with her that morning for no clear reason. She had taken the CTA token out and put it in the inside pocket of her purse. She squeezed the brass between her fingers for a long second. She thought about her daddy, about the phrase, "Remember where you belong too." She wondered quietly inside her own head what that even meant. Where did she belong exactly? In which chair? That Sunday morning, Gloria went to Pearl's place, the small soul food diner on 43rd Street she'd been going to most Sundays for years. She always sat at the counter, ordered the same plate, 2 eggs over easy with grits and a biscuit and a cup of black coffee. The diner was usually busy after church let out, but that morning Gloria had come early, before 9, so she had her pick of seats. A few stools down, an older woman she had seen a few times was already settled in with a paper. Small, slight, silver hair, in 2 neat braids pinned around her head, a brown shawl across her shoulders, even with the heat from the kitchen. Her name was Miss Pauline Williams, 78 years old, retired CTA dispatcher after 40 years working in the dispatch center over on Lake Street. Widowed 9 years, lived alone in a senior apartment over on Drexel Boulevard. Everybody who came in regular to Pearl's knew Miss Pauline, and everybody called her Miss Pauline, never just Pauline. That Sunday, when Miss Pauline saw Gloria settle in at the counter, she folded her paper, picked up her plate and her coffee, and moved down to the stool next to Gloria's without asking. She had done that a few times before. It was their way of saying hello. They ate quietly at first, then Miss Pauline started talking about the cold coming in early this year, about her great-granddaughter who had just learned to walk, about the sermon her cousin had preached at her church the Sunday before. Gloria answered in small pieces, but mostly she listened. There was a calm in Miss Pauline's voice she hadn't heard in a long time. It was the voice of somebody who had already seen plenty and didn't need to prove a thing to anybody. When their plates were almost empty, Gloria, without quite knowing why, told her about the bank. She told Miss Pauline about the Wednesday afternoon, about the ticket number, about the manager walking by 3 times without seeing her, about Mrs. Bradshaw, about the cream-colored portfolio. She said it quietly, looking at her coffee cup, not raising her eyes to Miss Pauline. Miss Pauline didn't answer right away. She picked up her cup, took a long, slow sip, looked out through the front window at the morning light on the brick of the building across the street, and after a long moment, without turning her head toward Gloria, she said simply, "Bank treats you the way your number tells it to, baby. But that number can change." That was it. She didn't explain. She didn't say anything else about it. She moved on to talking about her great-granddaughter again, about a cousin who was coming to visit from Detroit. When they paid the bill and got up from the counter, Miss Pauline patted Gloria's hand and said she would see her next Sunday, the Lord willing. They went their separate ways at the corner. Gloria had the empty coffee cup feel still warm in her hand, and the words sitting in her chest. And the words stayed. The words stayed on the walk back home down 43rd Street. They stayed at the crosswalk where the lights were turning. They stayed at her own front door. And when she walked into the apartment, took off her boots in the foyer, and felt the cold hardwood through her socks, she couldn't hear the wind outside anymore. She could only hear Miss Pauline's voice, slow, calm, with no heaviness to it. That number can change. Gloria went to the kitchen, put the kettle on the stove, leaned against the counter she had already wiped clean, and stayed there for no good reason. The radiator in the corner knocked twice. The kettle started to whistle, and she didn't take it off the burner right away. She let it whistle a little longer. When she finally poured the water for her tea, she forgot to put in the sugar. She drank it bitter. She only noticed by the 3rd sip. That night she tried to get back to her routine. She washed the breakfast dishes, folded a stack of dish towels, watched a little of the evening news, went to bed. But when she turned off the lamp and put her head on the pillow, that cold came back to her feet, the same one she had felt walking into the apartment. It didn't make sense. The radiator was on, the comforter was thick, she was under the covers. But her feet were freezing, and she couldn't fall asleep. She thought about the bank, about the wealth management office, about Mrs. Bradshaw's portfolio, about the manager's tone when she said Mrs. Bradshaw. She compared that tone with the teller's tone when she had called number 82. The words were the same, but everything before the words was different. The eye contact, the body, the time given to one customer that wasn't given to another. She tried to push it away. She thought about other things, about the grocery list for Saturday, about calling her sister down in Indianapolis, about fixing the wobbly leg on the kitchen table. But the words kept coming, always coming, and she ended up getting up before the sun, making coffee again, and going to the dresser, opening the wooden cigar box and taking the brass CTA token out of it. She set it on the kitchen table under the yellow light of the ceiling lamp. She sat down. She looked at it for a long time. She thought about her daddy, about Marvin, about all the mornings he had hung that lanyard around his neck before walking out the door at 4 a.m. to drive the bus through the dark Chicago streets. About all the times he had counted out tokens for passengers who couldn't make exact change. About all the years he had spent measuring his life, one route at a time. Where had he belonged? Behind the wheel of a CTA bus. On the same blue plastic chair Gloria had been sitting on Wednesday. She thought about herself. 30 years driving the same route. 33 years putting money in the same bank, and in all those years that bank had never once called her by her name. She held the token in her closed fist. The metal warmed slowly against her skin. The radiator knocked twice. The first grey light started coming in through the kitchen window. Gloria sat there with the token until the kettle she had forgotten on the stove burned itself dry. The next few days were strange. Gloria couldn't go back to being who she was before that Wednesday at the bank. Without trying, she started noticing things she had never noticed before. She noticed her great-niece Keisha, 29, who worked at the University of Chicago, talking about her 401k like it was just any old thing. She noticed the radio ad on her way to the store that said, "Open a high-yield savings account in 5 minutes from your phone." She noticed an older deacon she knew from her sister's church, saying in passing that he had moved some money into I-bonds. She noticed even a woman ahead of her in line at the Jewel grocery store, telling another woman about her credit union money market. Before, she had walked past those things without hearing them. Now they were calling out to her, one by one, like signs that had always been there, and she had been walking around with cotton in her ears. It wasn't a sweet discovery. It was a kind of shame that took her a while to put a name to. It was the very specific feeling of having been, for 33 years, invisible inside a place where other folks got called by their last name, and nobody had ever said anything. And she had never thought to ask why. One Wednesday, she tried to fix something the only way she knew how. She bought a new winter coat at the Macy's downtown, navy blue, simple, the nicest thing she had bought herself in years. She put on her good earrings, the gold hoops her sister had given her for her 40th birthday. She put on a little lipstick, something she usually only did for funerals and weddings. And she went to the Chase branch early in the afternoon, pulled a ticket, sat down on the blue plastic chair. She waited 50 minutes. The teller called her. She handled her business in 15 minutes. The manager walked through the lobby twice while she was waiting. Not once did the manager look her way. Gloria walked out of the bank with the new navy coat and the gold hoops and the lipstick already wearing off from the coffee she had stopped for on the way. She took the bus home. She took off her boots in the foyer. She sat down on the worn couch in the living room. The fine navy coat looked out of place on the worn couch. She didn't take it off. The bank had not changed the way it looked at her because the coat had changed. The bank was not going to change the way it looked at her as long as the number on the manager's computer screen stayed the same. The bank treats a woman like her by a rule nobody wrote down, but everybody follows. And that rule has nothing to do with the coat. It has to do with what comes up on the screen when the manager types in the account number. Gloria sat on the couch a long time. Then she got up, walked to the dresser, opened the cigar box, took out the CTA token on its leather lanyard. She held it tight in her closed hand, the way her father used to. She thought about Marvin, about the way he had said, "Remember where you belong." She thought about how long it had taken her to figure out that the place she had been belonging to was a blue plastic chair in a bank lobby where nobody knew her name. The bedside lamp clicked off when the wiring shorted again, the way it had been doing for weeks. Gloria spoke under her breath, "For nobody. There are women who walk into a bank invisible for years. It isn't the bank that doesn't see them. It's that they hadn't yet seen themselves." She sat that way until the room got dark around her. Then she didn't put the token back in the cigar box. She set it on the small altar she kept on top of the dresser, between the photograph of her parents on their wedding day and the brass cross her mother had given her at her first communion. Like somebody who knows that token is going to come down off the altar very soon, and that the next time it does, it will be going somewhere different than it has ever gone before. Gloria didn't do anything heroic that week. She didn't make any big decisions. She didn't call anybody. She just thought. She thought while she made coffee. She thought while she watered the spider plant on the kitchen windowsill. She thought while she watched her young neighbor Mama bundle up her kids for the cold walk to school. And the thought was always the same. She wanted to talk to Miss Pauline again. She went to Pearl's place the next Sunday morning, on purpose this time. Miss Pauline was already at the counter, with her paper and her cup of coffee. Gloria sat down on the stool next to her without asking. They ate quietly for a while. Then Gloria asked her. She asked her direct, no walking around it, because she felt that woman deserved a direct question. She asked her what she had meant by bank treats you the way your number tells it to, but that number can change. Miss Pauline gave a soft little laugh. She said she had learned that a long time back from a nephew of hers who had studied finance at Roosevelt University over near downtown. She said for decades she had been doing the very same thing as Gloria. All her money in a basic savings account at Chase, just out of habit, just out of trust in what the bank had always told her. Until her nephew had sat her down at this very counter on a Sunday morning about 15 years ago and explained to her that there were such things as high-yield savings accounts at online banks like Marcus and Ali, such things as Series 1 bonds at treasurydirect.gov, such things as basic index funds at Vanguard, such things as money market accounts at the credit union that paid much more than the savings account at Chase. She said it wasn't hard. She said it was for women like them. She said it paid more, much more. She said it was safe, especially the government kind. She said there were free videos online where one of her great nieces had learned the whole thing without paying anybody a dime, with a young woman from Mississippi who explained it real plain. She said she herself had a small piece of her money working that way for over 12 years now, and her nephew had told her once that some folks across the ocean, in Japan, he said, had something like 7 rules for doing the same thing, but the most important rule was really just one. Stop letting the bank treat you like a number and start changing the number so the bank has to treat you like a person. Gloria listened to all of it without interrupting. She wrote the names down on the back of a paper napkin from the counter with the pen she borrowed from Miss Pauline. Walking home, she went slow, not pressuring herself to understand all of it at once. It took her another 3 weeks to work up the nerve. She went on a Friday after lunch, not to the line for the tellers. She made an appointment by phone first, and she went straight back to the wealth management office at the Chase branch, the one she'd only ever seen from the lobby. The advisor, young, patient with her, called her by her name from the very moment she sat down because he had pulled up her file before the meeting. 33 years of being a customer. He looked surprised when he saw the number of years on the screen. He explained. He showed her the numbers. He showed her what it earned over 1 year, 3 years, 5 years. He compared it with her plain savings account. The difference was not small. Over some years, the old way, she had earned $20 in interest. The new way, with a money market account and some I-bonds, she could earn over $400 for the same money, for the same effort. She walked out of the wealth management office holding her purse tight against her chest. Her hands had gone to her lap without her noticing. She sat down in a lobby chair, away from the blue plastic ones in the teller line, and looked at them. They were folded over each other like she was praying. She wasn't. She thought about going home and dropping it. She thought she would lose everything. She thought this was for the people on the news, people with real money. She thought about giving up 3 times that day, but in the end, she sat back down with the advisor the next week, and she did it. She didn't do it with all of it. She did it with half, $8,200. She put some of it in a money market account at the credit union she had opened. The rest she put into Series 1 bonds at Treasury Direct, just like Miss Pauline had told her about. She left the other $8,200 at the Chase savings account for safety because she still needed to feel safe. She signed the papers with the bank's pen. Her hand shook a little, but she signed. 3 months later, she saw the first statement. The return on those 3 months alone, with her not putting in another dime, was higher than the total return of the past 4 years combined from the Chase savings account. Gloria read the number, read it again. She didn't cry, but she sat still in the chair for a while, not the blue plastic chair from the teller line. The chair in the wealth management office with a desk to lean on and a glass of water sitting on a coaster next to her. Almost 2 years later, Gloria walked into the Chase branch on a Friday that looked like that other one. Not to handle a crisis, to handle some good news. She had managed to put together enough, between the returns, a small inheritance from a cousin in Indianapolis, and a few more afternoons a week of watching the young mama's kids, to put down a real down payment on a small condo in Bronzeville, 2 blocks west of the apartment she had rented for 31 years. It wasn't big, it wasn't fancy, it was hers. And she had come to the branch that day to pull the last amount from the money market and the I-bonds to complete the down payment. She was carrying a folder, not the cream-colored portfolio Mrs. Bradshaw had carried. A plain, brown accordion folder she had bought at the Office Depot for $3.99. But inside, there were papers. There were statements. There was the preliminary contract for the condo. There were her I-bond confirmations. It was the first time she had walked into the bank with a folder full of papers, instead of just a manila envelope folded in the bottom of her purse. When she came in this time, she went straight to the wealth management office. The receptionist greeted her by name. "Good afternoon, Ms. Robinson. The advisor will be with you in just a moment." Gloria felt something strange in her chest. It wasn't pride exactly. It was more a kind of tired relief. It was the tiredness of having been invisible for 33 years, finally lifting off her shoulders. While she was waiting for the advisor, she saw, across the lobby, a woman sitting on the blue plastic chair in the teller line, a little younger than her, maybe 48, 49, used coat 1 size too big, scarf wrapped twice around her neck, hair pulled back tight. The woman was holding a manila envelope in her hand. She was looking at the ticket screen with the same expression Gloria had carried for 33 years. The manager, a new one, different from the one before, had just walked past 3 times without seeing the woman even once. Gloria watched her for a moment. She thought about letting it go. She thought every woman has her own way, that nobody asks for advice, that maybe the other woman would feel embarrassed. But instead of that, she did something she had never seen anybody do for her. She got up from the wealth management chair, walked across the lobby, sat down in the blue plastic chair right next to the woman. She spoke soft. She asked her if they could talk a minute. The woman's name was Denise, home health aide working over by the University of Chicago, 49 years old. She had been a customer at this Chase branch for 27 years. She had come in that day because a co-worker had told her there were ways to make a savings account do more than just sit there. She was scared to ask. She was sitting there trying to find the courage. Gloria didn't give her advice out of a book. She didn't talk about rates or charts. She talked about Miss Pauline. She talked about Pearl's place on Sunday mornings. She talked about the brass token her father had given her. She didn't pull the token out, but she touched the back of her own neck once, almost without realizing it, like the lanyard was still there. She talked about the words. She told her bank treats you the way your number tells it to, baby, but that number can change. She told Denise, with the same calm Miss Pauline had used with her, that being invisible inside a bank for years was not a decision the bank made all by itself. It was a decision the bank had learned to make, because nobody had ever asked it to do any different, and that changing the number was a way of asking the bank to see her for the first time. Denise listened in silence. She wrote 3 names down in the corner of the manila envelope with the pen Gloria handed her. She thanked Gloria without looking up. She held the envelope a little tighter than she needed to. And when her number got called, before she stood up, she turned to Gloria and said quiet that she had heard her, that she was going to try. Gloria went back to the wealth management office. The advisor called her by her name. She handled what she had come to handle. She pulled the money for the down payment on the condo, and when she walked out of the Chase Bank with the brown accordion folder under her arm, she stopped for a second on the sidewalk and reached into her purse. She pulled out the small wooden cigar box. The same one, lid worn smooth from years of being opened. She had brought it that day with no clear reason. She held it for a moment. When she moved into the little condo 2 weeks later, Gloria didn't put the cigar box back on top of a dresser. She put the brass CTA token on a long silver chain she had bought at the corner jeweler. She put the chain around her neck the morning she moved in. The brass warmed against her chest as soon as her body warmed up. She wore it under her shirt where nobody could see it. That token her father had given her with the words, "Remember where you belong to," was warm against her skin now, and the place where she belonged had finally changed. Not the bus, not the blue plastic chair, a wealth management office where they called her Ms. Robinson the moment she walked through the door. A small condo with her name and her name alone on the deed. A Sunday counter at Pearl's place, where Miss Pauline still saved her the stool next to her, where she belonged, where her father had hoped she might one day belong. The brass token finally going somewhere it had never gone before. If you made it all the way here listening to this story, I want to ask you one thing. Comment down below, day 1. And tell me what you're going to do today, just for you. It can be small. It can be walking into a place with your head up where you usually walk in with your head down. It can be calling a Miss Pauline of your life. It can just be noticing how many places you've been walking through invisible. I want to read every comment that comes through, every single one, no exceptions. And if this story made you think of some woman, send her this video. Your sister, your friend from work, your neighbor down the hall. The woman who walks into places invisible every day without ever suspecting there is another way. Send it to her. She'll understand why. If you haven't subscribed to this channel yet, stay with us a little longer. This is a space made for the woman who has lived, who is still living, who is tired of trying to do it all right by herself. Hit that little bell so you don't miss the next videos. And take care of yourself, baby. We'll see each other in the next story.